For the builders?
Yeah, that one, 4:30 to 7:30.
9 o'clock, ready to start?
That's a long meeting.
Do they have the executive meeting for
Good morning, everyone.
Microphone on.
Everybody, please turn off your cell phones. I'd like to call to order the January 16th, 2025 meeting of the Charlotte County Airport Authority. Mr. Thornberry will provide the invocation for us this morning. Please join us if you'd like.
Heavenly Father, we are just very grateful and thankful for the new year, and we ask that you bless this meeting, and especially those that are here and beyond that work hard every day to make our airport a success. We pray for the safety of our operators and passengers, and extend that to the citizens that we serve, especially those who are recovering from natural disasters locally and beyond. We ask that you would be with our first responders and our military, as we are very grateful for their dedication and as they work hard every day for our safety and freedom. We ask for your guidance and wisdom and all to your will and to your glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Leskovich.
Present.
Mr. Swellen.
Present.
Mr. Hackett. Present. Mr. Hanzik.
Here.
Mr. Parrish.
Here.
Mr. Thornberry.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone interested in addressing the airport board on an agenda item? Please identify yourself, and when we get to that item, we'll call on you. Seeing no one, moving on to the agenda item 6, which any additions or deletions to the agenda.
The only thing, we're going to pull the CEO item under consent, paycheck signing authority, just for discussion. We'll do that prior to the consent agenda.
Okay. Employee recognition. Who's up first, Beth or?
Good morning, Commissioners and James. Brian and Cindy, please come on up. We're going to do two together. And it's my privilege and an honor to be able to recognize and appreciate these two folks here. The reason I bring them up together, they're a husband and wife team. We call them Team Newman, part of our custodial team. And just a little thing I like to say about our custodial staff, all of them, particularly these two. They're some of the hardest working people at the airport. That's just my opinion. So I'd like to talk about Brian first. They came on as part-time and turned full-time within their 5 years that they've been here. Brian, his past career was a corrections officer, what, 30 years? 22. I should have embellished. Okay, and Cindy, she worked in the hospital environment for how many years? 18 years. So great experience that they bring to the airport, and we were fortunate enough to get them on our custodial team. Brian, I want to say your work ethic is unparalleled. One of Brian's specialties is maintaining the equipment. And you know, somebody can come in and go to work and use the equipment and just go home. But he cares about the maintenance of it and the longevity of it, and to me that's a sign of dedication. Also, he takes on a lot of tasks that are above and beyond, not just the traditional day-to-day responsibilities. He cares about the cleanliness of the airport, being really clean. Cindy is, her attention to detail, to say she's meticulous is not enough. She brings new ideas and methods for efficiency and to make things work better on our team and to make things better at the airport. And also, she has a broad scope of the responsibilities, doesn't just focus on one thing or another. So I'd like to say how grateful I am to have you on our team. But I will say that, Brian, my favorite thing about you is your humor. the customers, team members, and stakeholders all get to enjoy that. And Cindy, it's your kindness and caring with everybody. So I appreciate your pride and work and dedication to the airport.
Thank you.
Thank you. Staff, turn around.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Commissioners, good morning.
Morning.
Mr. Morgan, if you would, please.
Mr. Morgan.
Yeah, mister. Look at how he's dressed.
On behalf of the entire airport team, we would like to take this opportunity to recognize Joe Morgan for your outstanding dedication and service as manager of the maintenance department. Joe is celebrating his milestone this year of 5 years of service, and we're truly fortunate to have him as part of our team. Throughout his tenure, Joe has consistently demonstrated a commitment through maintaining the highest standards of operational excellence. His leadership, expertise, and hands-on approach have ensured that safety, efficiency, and functionality of our airport facilities, which is essential to the smooth operation of the airport. Joe has gone above and beyond to ensure that the maintenance department is not only responsive, but proactive, anticipating and addressing challenges before they arise. Under Joe's leadership, the maintenance team has achieved success, ensuring that the airport's infrastructure remains in top condition. His ability to manage both routine tasks and emergency situations have been instrumental in keeping our airport running smoothly day in and day out. Joe's hard work and dedication and positive attitude make him a true asset to our team, and we look forward to his continued contributions to PGD in the years to come. It's only been a little bit since I've taken over the maintenance department. Joe's been here long before I was. I know he used to work under Ray's supervision as well. And between me and Ray calling him, staff calling him any hours of the day, Joe's on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, weekends. He always comes in, handles the tasks. The hurricanes, he was here helping us get the generator started, making sure everything is functional. And we truly are grateful for the commitment you have for the job and what a great job you do. And thank you for your
Yeah, and all the,
With that, I would like to call Carl.
Carl dressed up too.
I didn't prepare a 20-minute speech like Brett did. Carl started here 5 years ago, part-time, mowing grass. About 3 years ago, he transitioned to a full-time position, mainly because his wife wanted him out of the house more. Carl is now our unofficial lead groundskeeper. It's not an official position, but that is the role that he has stepped up to and is doing. He's one of the hardest working people that I know. He has a big task with keeping this airport looking nice with a very, very small staff. And I believe they do an excellent job at it. But anyway, we appreciate the last 5 years and looking forward to the next 5 years. Hope you stick around that long.
Very good. Moving on to the consent agenda, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, which basically has 2 items on it, which is our minutes of our regular and workshop meeting.
Mr. Chair, if I heard correctly, I think our CEO wants
Do you want to
to
discuss
exclude.
that one now and then we can include it? Or do you want to do it right after this?
I think we ought to do it right afterward.
Okay.
All right. Then I move to approve line item number 8, consent agenda, the secretary treasurer regular meetings from November 26th of 24, and then, excuse me, the minute workshop meeting of December 10th, 2024, and under consent agenda excluding the CEO regarding the payment check signing authority, and have that discussed on after this particular acceptance.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve the consent agenda as detailed. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Okay.
The next item is really a change of procedure, not policy. Currently, I have check signing authority, the COO has check signing authority, and all the board members have check signing authority. What we've been doing is sending major or check runs to the board for their approval before we send them out. The checks are cut and sent out. Prior to COVID, those of you who are on the board, which is just you, and Kathleen, commissioners had to come in and sign checks, and we did that 3 or 4 times a month, and it was time consuming and a lot of effort for the commissioners. With COVID and stuff, we went to something we had the authority to do, which was electronic signatures, and we just sent the checks out, the check runs out with the backup for approval. What we're looking at doing is just having those, instead of the board approving them every time, is just us approving them and signing them. Still, the board would get the packets like they usually do. And let me just tell you how checks are, or how purchases are made. PO has to be cut first. The PO is approved by the manager and myself, or a director, depending on the amount of the check. Then the items purchased, when we get the invoice is compared to the PO. If the PO and the invoice are the same, we put the check in for a check run. That check run is then approved by the CO or the CFO, and then sent to you. So it's looked at least 5 times prior to a check being cut. So the only change would be is we're not going to wait. We would not wait on the 2 commissioners' approval. And the reason we're doing that is you guys are all very busy. It takes us approximately 2 weeks to get through the process because of all the checks, not checks, but checks that we do before we cut a check. And then sometimes we're waiting another week to 2 weeks for board approval of those. And we're getting to the point where then that invoice shows up 30 days late, and then we have to go through the process of figuring out, has that one been paid or not. This would just speed that up. It wouldn't really take away any approval authority of the board. It's just we would be signing the checks before and getting them out prior to them being late. So that's what we're trying to do. Like I said, it's not a change of policy, it's just a change of procedure. So,
Are there still 2 signatures?
there would still be 2 signatures on every check.
I was the individual asked that it be taken off the consent agenda. I have absolutely no problem with the administrative process of approving checks because of what Mr. Parrish just explained. I didn't realize when I see the run, I immediately respond to it. And I think it's, in my mind, as part of our fiduciary responsibility to know where the money is going, although most of us probably wouldn't be aware of what those checks are for. But there are occasions where I have gone back to the financial people and asked questions about a particular check or who it was going to and why they did it. You know, it's not very often, but I think that the existing procedure that the checks, before they're actually dispersed, should have the approval of 2 of the commissioners.
I do not disagree. I just know that you guys are very busy, and staff has a little bit of hesitance calling or badgering a board member.
Well, in my mind, that's one of our responsibilities of being on this board. It doesn't take 5-10 minutes to go through the roster and respond back that you received it, you looked at it, and you approve its disbursement on the date. Usually the document comes at least 2 days, usually before the disbursement date. That's my opinion.
Mr. Chair? I understand where you're coming from. I've always felt, and I've been doing the reviews, and I'm probably the one that's been lagging behind out of everybody as far as responding. I feel like this is an executive level approval. I'm comfortable, just like we see the financials every month, as far as our duty as commissioners, that I can look at the check runs for the month as part of my review of our packet before our meeting. That's just kind of where I'm coming. I don't want to discredit or discount what you're saying, and I understand tradition means a lot, and there's a reason why we're where we are as a commission and an airport. But I do feel like this is more of an executive level approval.
Mr. Chair, I want to make sure, James, I understand here. There's still going to be 2 signatures. Is yours going to be one of them?
Mine will be one, as well as the CFO.
All right. And what we're trying to do is, or what you're suggesting is bypassing 2 of our signatures on these checks, or 2 approvals from us.
Correct. So we would still send the check runs to you, you just wouldn't be approving them prior to the checks being cut.
All right. And are these just general routine account payables?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they're big checks. I mean, they're $1 million checks that we cut for construction projects, but they're routine account
But they're also
payables.
electric bills and
The electric
phone
bills, the
and
phone
coffee,
bills.
But they've
coffee
already,
service. And
but the funds have already been allocated
Sure, all
to
of
be
them.
sent out. It's just a matter of the timing of when the checks go out, whether it's just yours and someone else's signature, or 2 of ours, or whatever it is.
Correct. It's all part of the budgeted, the budget that has been approved by the board. Anything above and beyond the budget, except for minor adjustments to the budget through, the months, is brought to you. So any major expenditures are brought and approved by the board.
All right. Then, with that being said, I kind of tend to agree with what Commissioner Thornberry is saying here. It's more of an executive level protocol to help speed the process up.
I will tell you, I've talked to a few other airports our size, and we are a rarity that the board approves the checks, the individual checks. So we're just trying to streamline the process. Like I said, the approval, we are already authorized to do this. We're just changing the procedure that we're requesting a change to the procedure to streamline it.
I have nothing else. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I guess we can go ahead and consider it one way or another. My only last comment is that you're kind of giving up somewhat of an oversight position. And that was my only concern.
we could change it back anytime if there's something that raises a
man,
flag
yeah.
or
Of course.
James,
Sure.
if we see in the monthly that he writes a check for $100,000 to himself, we can,
Well, that'd be weekly, but
If he's going to write one, it better be bigger than 100.
I'm not going to jail for $100,000.
with that said, I'll move to approve as requested.
Okay, a motion, and it's been moved and seconded to allow the executive staff to initiate checks and their disbursement as a executive procedure rather than having the board approve the checks prior to disbursement, but to be informed of the disbursement at a later date. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay. Item Secretary Treasurer's report.
Mr. Parrish, I went through your numbers. Do you want to discuss this more in detail?
Sure, we can go to the financial overview. We have that in here. You look for the month and the year-to-date, the revenues are slightly behind what we planned, but so are our expenses. It's always nice to keep those close. We had a very, very good December, so you're going to see that those numbers will probably flip in December. With Thanksgiving being late, we budget for the month, but a lot of our income for the month of November came in December because of the timing of Thanksgiving and the parking revenue and the car rental revenues. So some of this was just timing. But we're doing fairly well for the year so far in the first 2 months. Our income is really good, and our delinquent accounts are fairly low. So, any specific questions you guys have, I can answer, or the staff can answer. Our operating margins, which is what I look at, still continue to be high.
Okay, hearing, no.
Sean?
Sean, did you have a?
Nope.
Oh,
Okay.
Good.
So beyond that, unless you guys have a specific question, we can move on to
Liaison reports. I'm up first. Punta Gorda City Council. I'd like to acknowledge that Councilperson Polk is here in the audience. She raised her hand. I routinely look over their agendas and correspond with her. And probably the only thing that's really kind of interesting, they're in the process of trying to establish a joint meeting with the county commissioners and the city council of Punta Gorda, which I think is interesting and probably well needed. So with that, I conclude my report with the city council. County commissioners, Mr. Sweeland.
I see Mr. Deutsch is here. I attended yesterday the meeting, and I have nothing to report.
MPO, Mr. Thornberry.
I will refer to you on the NPO. I believe you attended in my absence for the last meeting. I'll go right into the economic development EDO. Most of everyone here was present for the groundbreaking for the CTC hangar. The meeting was held at the Air Center, which was well attended and well done. Congratulations to staff and James for hosting that very eloquently. And it's very exciting, and I hope to see some good progress soon. And it brings up the subject of permits. Are we still waiting on?
Still waiting.
Okay.
We're still waiting.
Okay. And I'm sure that will come in the project report, but.
We have broken ground. We are actually bringing in fill, and we're moving forward. Obviously, we can't start pouring slab until we get a permit.
Well,
Good things to come there.
Commissioner Deutsch is in the office. Maybe he could help with the permitting process.
I will tell you, after the groundbreaking, we were told we'd have the permit the next week. It's really, there's nothing holding the permit up except the process. And they have a process, and they work through it, and we work through it with them. This building's been fairly simple. I think we're dealing with a few minor.
Yes, I've been currently working with staff there on getting things done. At the end of the week, I'm hoping to have an update on where we are. But if all goes as planned, next week we should have it. So if anything major, I'll bring it up the chain. But we're working towards getting there.
A lot of this, like the steel building's a delegated design, so you gotta have steel building manufacturer as well as our architect plans, so it takes time. We're working through it. We have another building that we're having serious issues with, and we may, and I think Brett is working on that. We met last week, but we'll hopefully get that settled soon too. And it's a floodplain issue, which I know you're more than cognizant of our issues out there.
And like I said, as an alternate commissioner, Chairman Hansick had attended the MPO board meeting. We have a board meeting also scheduled after the joint Lee County MPO meeting to discuss assigning an interim director. I'm not sure where that, obviously there was nothing has developed on the director position since the last meeting I attended. So I'm sure Commissioner Deutsch would also have some input on that.
Okay. I did attend that, and I don't think they want me there again. Anyway, moving on, the community, Mrs. Coppola is not here, but I did notice the school board is announced a groundbreaking for their quote-unquote hangar on the high school campus that's coming up, which is part of their whole aviation, aeronautical, educational efforts. You know, we have the A&P school here, and they're going to have the building there called the hangar. I can't remember the date. It's in February.
25th.
20?
Yeah, February 25th.
25th, so interesting. Okay, school board. That's
Chairman Hansick, you stole some of my thunder about the groundbreaking on the 25th, but the school board had their annual Golden Apple Award ceremony gala this past Saturday, where Addison Montgomery was awarded the Teacher of the Year, and Amanda Clayton was awarded the Support Personnel of the Year. It was a great event, and everybody in attendance had an awesome time.
okay. Thank you. Attorney's report. You have anything, Jack?
Mr. Chair, I'm glad to be here for Mr. Carr, who is traveling, and I'm here to do whatever you all need me to do. Thank you.
Daryl just texted me, he's on YouTube watching us.
Is he?
So you gotta look good.
Glad to hear it.
He's checking on your performance, I imagine.
So far, so good.
Yeah, good. All right. CEO report, Mr. Parrish.
All right, I'm gonna start deferring this to staff for some of it. So this is Mr. White, the development update, please.
Yes, sir. On development update, our Air Center apron expansion, we currently have our first design meeting scheduled for that, so we can get that design started. Our Building 97 replacement, which is the Air Trek building, we're finalizing the design now and hope to put that out to bid in the next couple of months. Our new FBO hangar, we are finalizing that final design. They're currently out for a GMP. We're actually on this one, we are in for permitting already. We want to try to get ahead of the game a little bit. But in the next meeting, probably in February, we plan on presenting the GMP for that building. Golf Course Challenger Boulevard is still on hold. The perimeter road south, we are going to bid that out this year, and that will hopefully start towards the end of the year. Our taxiway A reconstruction will be out for bid this year, and we are finalizing our master drainage plan update. We have a couple meetings with Swift Mud in the coming months, and we will get that finalized. Commercial terminal expansion, we're currently under review on the final GMP for that. We're going through plans and specs. We had an initial meeting in December, but that's the biggest project we've ever had here. So we want to take our due diligence in reviewing that and making sure it's right before we come to the board. But if all goes as planned, we plan on presenting that at the February board meeting for approval. Our north side infrastructure development, we are starting our pre-construction meetings in that, and we're hoping to get that started here soon, probably in March. Currently under construction, our ARF truck is in design, and that's being constructed. It's planned, I think we said December of this year, be finalized. Our inline baggage system, as you can tell on the south side of the terminal, the roof is almost dried in. It should be completed by the end of the week. They'll start the interior and get moving on that. Our maintenance and operations facility across the street here, we're getting real close. We're hoping to move in the end of March before Easter, maybe a little around Easter. But everything's in, we're getting finishes done. The only hiccup we are having with that is with FPL and Final Power. Had a big meeting with them this week, and we're hoping to get that finalized sooner than later. CTC, as you heard from commissioners earlier, we had the groundbreaking there. We are working on filling the site right now. The site work has started. We have the fence moved in for the new apron that's going to connect to our GA ramp. Currently on the permitting, I've been working with staff at the county on the permitting with that. We're hoping by the end of the week, early next week, to have final determination, and so we can get forward. Once the slab's filled, we can start forming and pouring it. Rental car facility replacement, that slab has been poured. They started erecting the building this week on that. If you're over on the north side of the terminal, you can see the rental car building going vertical, so that's a big step. The construction for building 611, which is the replacement for 207, that is finalized. We have the CO of that. I have 2 walkthroughs today, one with the construction manager and one with Mr. Esch. We hope to finalize that, get them moved in, and we can free up some units in 615. Taxiway C reconstruction, we started last week. I don't know if many of you see on the inside on our taxiway, but that is going. We have our taxiway Delta currently right now is closed off in certain sections, but that's going well. Contractor's doing great. Maintenance building 227, that's another one Mr. Parrish spoke about earlier that is in for permitting right now. We've had some issues with the floodplain on that. I think we have that worked out with our civil engineer and county design staff, and hopefully have that next couple weeks. Building 101, which is the building right north of the tower, you can see that building is completely erected. They're going to start the roof here next week, and if all goes as planned, that'll probably be done in 6-7 months. When we start the air truck building, they'll be able to move into that one. That's all I have for the development report. Is there any questions anyone has? Yes, sir.
Just out of curiosity, why does it take over a year to build a truck, an ARC truck?
Oh, geez.
It's not currently being built. It's that they're so backlogged. It's kind of like in the queue. So they haven't started with everything right now. We have the design done of it. We have everything that we requested. My first fire truck that I've built, it's pretty neat, but there's a lot that goes into it. But we're in the queue. They probably won't start production on it until 6-7 months from now. So it doesn't take a year, but we're in the queue, and that's the hard thing, is getting in the queue to get it done.
One of the problems is there's only probably three manufacturers worldwide. And with the new PFAS, well, E1 just stopped building them. So that's one of them that went away. And with the PFAS, PFOA issues, a lot of people are buying new trucks. Because they don't want to deal with the unknowns of cleaning a truck. So, yeah. So we just got lucky that our truck needed to be replaced, so we will put the new foam in it. But we're now, what used to take, in the FAA used to specify it had to be built within 12 months. Well, if you can't get it in 12 months, they've relaxed that rule a little.
We received bids from all 3 companies.
Yeah.
On this.
Thank you.
A couple of questions. I know putting silt fence up for flat work, is that a requirement now?
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
It is.
It is.
Anything you do requires that.
Flat work on taxiways and all that. It looks like
Yes, sir.
it's a waste of, well, I don't know.
Trust me, and as someone who has to, as the head of the airport, I have to sign those plans, and as an engineer, I actually review them, and it annoys the heck out of me that even at the top of a slope, we're putting silt fence, because don't get me started. But yes, it's a requirement.
Well, I thought that was, I saw it out there, geez. And in the gossip circle with our tenants, the word is going out, and I said, I don't think so, that we're in the process of going to build some new hangars.
Hangars?
Yeah.
Like T hangars?
Yeah,
or-
and 50 by 50s. I think they're down the road, but nothing in the immediate future
Not in the
that we've
immediate
been.
future.
Yeah.
We do have, they're in our 5-year plan with the DOT.
And
for
you
some-
got a couple $1 million you asked for, what, in 26 or 27 from the state?
It's the outer year, yes. We have it plugged in our DOT plan, which they require 5 years out, which we currently updated recently. I have a meeting with them at the end of this month regarding that. But they're currently out there in our plan, yes.
And it's, so this is a good time for me to, let's talk about legislative stuff in a minute. So last year, we were very successful with the legislature of getting money. Problem is, we already had that money. They just moved it from the project we already had funded to the project that the legislature funded, which meant that the projects we had funded get moved 5 years out. And that's happened with T-hanger funding twice, and that's the reason we spent 100% our money on this current T-hanger. So we've got to watch what we do. Now, the CTC funding came from a different pot, but most times when we get money from the legislature, it comes from the DOT, which is, like Brett said, we work with them on a 5-year plan. If we get $10 million, $5 million, $3 million, that money has already been programmed for this airport. They just take that project, move it to the back, and fund this one. So, although I love getting money from the legislature, sometimes it messes with the plans.
Okay.
Marketing update, Ms. Miller?
Hi, good morning, everybody. Lots of activities in November and December are in your monthly report, in your board packet, of course, so thank you all for participating in all the fun stuff we've had so far. Please put on your calendar February 25th. We're going to do our Aviation Gives Back wrap-up, lunch, and prize drawings. So you'll find more information about that. That's mainly for our tenants and employees, but the public's also invited to participate if they'd like. They can go to flypgd.com/UnitedWay for more information on that. January 29th is the date that the restaurant RFP proposals are due for the PGD Air Center, which is the facility off Challenger Boulevard. Just reminding the public, it's a great opportunity for a restaurateur to finish the build-out and run a restaurant that's open to the public, and is a great opportunity to serve the aviation community and have a great special events space as well as flight catering too. So it's a great opportunity. A couple weeks left. So if you know anyone in the restaurant world that wants to put in an RFP, there's more information at flypgd.com. On the bottom of our website, there's a link with all the information. And something important to note is that finishing that build out and completing that build out and being selected, that restaurateur can get up to $200,000 reimbursement for that build out expenses. So it's a great opportunity. Also want to thank CTC again for working with Chair Hansick on the parade float, putting together that old Piper Colt that Commissioner Hansick acquired and refurbishing it and making it nice. And the next steps we'll do is put some cool graphics on it and paint job for future parades, so future Veterans Day parades and future Christmas parades. We'll have some more excitement to that aircraft that we'll put on the float. And we want to thank them again for all their work on that. The state of the airport, James is going to be presenting next, and in the month to follow, I'll put together a printed copy that is in a more of a brochure format that you, as commissioners, can share with the community and in the public when you go to any speaking engagements or anything like that. So I'll have that for you to share the next month in February with the MPO and other groups like that. City, county commissioners, and things like that. We share that with them as well, so they have an idea of what we've done the past year. And I think that's pretty much it, unless y'all have any questions.
So if you guys check your email at like 6 o'clock in the morning, she sends out an update. She works really hard on that, all night long, apparently.
Okay, Mr. Parrish.
Mr. LaRoche, the
LaRoche.
aviation
Oh,
report.
yeah.
Morning, Commissioners. As Mr. Parrish indicated earlier, December was a very good month for us. We ended the year with a total of 142,000 and change operations, which is a 38% increase over last year. That's a drastic increase, mainly due to flight schools, which show in the fuel numbers. And I want to congratulate our entire team for getting through December with very little issues, minor stuff going on, but everybody on our team did a great job, our stakeholders as well. It was a huge month for us. So passenger traffic, again, the best month, best December ever, 222,000 passengers in December. Pretty significant numbers to end the year. Wow. On the avgas gallons sold off of the truck, again, a major increase, mostly due to flight schools, and this one is mainly Paragon on the Air Center apron. They take fuel off the truck and have been extremely busy and have recently spoke with us about increasing their flight school operations here at the airport. Self-serve, again, flight schools, flight fast track, mainly with this increase on the north ramp and the addition of the self-serve tank that we added there this year. So really good numbers and activity for GA. Jet A selling gallons sold. Again, the Air Center was busy as well over on the GA side for the holiday season. So we had 77,000 gallons of Jet A sold. And then with the increase in airline operations, the airline gallons pumped were at just over 1.6 million. The team at the fuel farm had an extremely difficult month in December and did an excellent job staying late and taking extra fuel loads to make sure that our inventory and Allegiant's inventory remained at a high enough level to where we were able to continue to fuel the aircraft. The ports have been extremely difficult to get loads in and out of because of the long lines at the ports. And I want to congratulate our team there on a great job as well.
Yeah, so truck drivers are literally sitting in line at the port to pick up jet fuel for us, Orlando, Tampa, Pye, Sarasota, Fort Myers, for up to 8 hours. So they time out. They're just like any other commercial operator. They can't operate. Sitting in line counts to their time. So we had a hard time getting loads where we expect 6 loads a day. We were getting 2 or 3. We got down to 120,000 gallons, which is a 2-day supply. We like to keep at least a 5. We work towards a 7. We have enough capacity for a 7-day supply. So it is coming to the point where we're putting on another QC person so we can take fuel later into the evenings when the lines aren't as long. But it's Florida. Thank goodness we're in Florida. We have a lot of traffic in Florida, but we're seeing it in the capacity at the Port of Tampa, Port Everglades. We can take fuel from either one, and we're all having issues. So.
On the fueling, a couple of questions. One for educational purposes, but on the sales side, if like you say, we run short on fuel, do we prioritize who gets fueled?
So we have our fuel and they have their fuel. Right. So Allegiant has their own.
You might explain how that works, especially for new board members, because there's 2 piles of this stuff.
Yeah, it gets mixed into the same tank.
Right.
We obviously we order our fuel, they order their fuel, and so we make sure our fuel stays full. Now, we also have an agreement with them that if we can't get a load, we'll suck a little of their fuel out. It's the great thing about as the people that have been on the board will remember, we used to have 3 fuel tanks. 2 were jet. 1 was avgas. Now we're up to 7 tanks. We have how many gallons?
302 total capacity with the trucks that we have today. We're going to have 2 more 7K trucks coming in, so that'll increase us another 4,000 gallons on hand. available. We generally stay around 240,000, 250,000 gallons daily on hand by the time we take in all the loads and everything that goes out. So when we get down, under 200, that's when we start to get a little bit stressed out. But we also, our team at the fuel farm does a really good job communicating with the airline directly, letting them know if they need to tanker in fuel so they can come in a little bit heavier. The weather plays into that a lot too, depending on how the weather is up north, what kind of loads they're taking during the day. So it's a moving target constantly, and they're constantly working with our partners to make sure that we take care of each other.
So,
And basically, we get a fee for storing
we get
the diesel fuel.
3 cents a gallon.
3 cents a gallon.
Which at 1.2 million gallons a month, it's not insignificant.
True. I think it's interesting for people to understand how all that kind of works. Airports are really a complex entity. There's a lot of moving parts and pieces that go on. So, we're very fortunate to have an excellent staff to kind of keep that all running.
One other thing I'd like to point out, during that entire month, everybody on the team was working towards getting prepared for our certification inspection, which started yesterday and is going through today and tomorrow. So,
Not to say that
again,
they weren't prepared.
not to say that they weren't prepared, but it's an added stress during the busiest time of
I'm
year
sure.
that the team just handled perfectly, so,
Yeah. All right, thank you, sir.
thank you.
Okay.
So I will start the annual January State of the Airport with Curtis. Curtis has become very popular, probably more popular than me.
We need to get him in the suit.
So we're thinking about taking Curtis to routes this year. We were talking about it this morning, but getting him on the plane may be tough. But if we get a service animal vest for him,
All we need is a leash.
the leash, Chad will take him. So T-hangers, we're up to 250 T-hangers now. That includes the box, the 50 by 50 box hangers. Annual revenue from the T-hangers last year is about 1.1 million. We have 135 on the wait list. I think the 22 months is a little long. We're pushing through people pretty quickly as we rotate in and out. We will be getting 6 units in the 60 by 60s. There are some T-hanger tenants that will be relocating into those with multiple aircraft, so we'll get some units back. And like you said, we do have hangars on the future plans with DOT, and we'll see how that works. I'm interested, this year we should see Venice's hangars, Sarasota's hangars, as well as Page's hangars in Naples come online. Those are units that were damaged during Ian, and we'll see if that reduces our wait list, because I think a lot of people are on multiple lists because they lost their hangar during those storms. But we'll see how that works out. Aviation leases, we have 16 active. We have 4 land leases, the 10 60 by 60 hangars, the 9 50 by 50s. We're also under construction on the replacement for 101, which is in the bottom right corner. We did sign a lease with NAS MRO, and they are working through the land development part of that. They have hired a reputable engineer that knows aviation, so we're excited that seems to be moving forward. Those of you who have been on the board for a while know we've dealt with multiple MROs in the past that never have gotten off the ground. This one is, they're excited. They're here at the airport a lot, and they're working through some of that. Now, the new road that we're building on the north side will connect to them. So we're working to make sure we don't build too much road because it goes into their lease. But
You might mention what MRO stands for, maintenance, repair, and overhaul
so
facilities.
they're going to be bringing in
Bigger jets.
their goal is to bring in 737s, A320s, A321s, the narrow body aircraft, the majority of the aircraft in the airline fleet. So they're working with major carriers. So hopefully we'll see Delta, American, United, Allegiant, Frontier, Spirit, if they're still in business, planes here for major overhauls in the future. As we just talked about, general aviation net revenues, avgas was up, jet fuel slightly down for the year. A lot of that has to do with the air show, and FBO services is down, but and mind you, that's a small number, but it was down because of our new rates and charges. We included a lot of those services in the rates and charges if you buy fuel. So that takes away from the services number, but we have more fuel sales. Operations, as Ray said, airport operations are up significantly, 142,673 in 2024. And if you look at the distribution, air carrier was up, but not up significantly. But look at GA local and GA itinerant.
Wow.
Most of that is flight schools. I think your GA itinerant is going to increase even more once our restaurant is done, because we're getting a lot of FIT, a lot of Embry-Riddle with our ILS. They're coming here to do their practice approaches, and then hopefully they'll land, take on fuel, get some lunch, and head back to the East Coast. And then our military, it was down a little in '24, but with our fuel contract, we're seeing a lot more of them, and we're excited to not only see them, but hear them flying over. They brought in their turboprops earlier this year, and then their jets were in for a couple of weeks. So it's always fun to have them here.
Any word from our tower chief on increasing his staffing levels? Because
they're working. So once we have our operations report for the year, we'll put together a report by hour. If we have operations, a significant number of operations after tower hours, then we can add to their hours. That will prompt the staffing increase. Oops. Non-aviation leases. So last year we did put a few new ones in place, and with Allegiant taking over the building next door, 3/4 of it, Faber taking over 1/4 of it. All those leases are now up at fair market value, as well as Paragon taking over all of the space next to us. Those have increased. The Motor Brothers came on track. A lot of the increase last year is also due to revenues that were down because of the storm. We had to reduce a lot of our leases. Now we made that money back through our insurance, our loss of revenue insurance, but that doesn't show up in the rates. But doing really well. I think we're going to. We have discussed building some spec, but with that large building being constructed on Piper Road, as well as the one across the street that's already in place, and then 2 going in, or 3 or 4 going in the industrial park. I'm going to see how those lease out before we put any of our money into spec buildings. I think we should concentrate on aviation as an airport, and if we have the opportunity, we can look at some other investment. Commercial air service, we continue to increase, but at a much slower rate than we were in the early 2010s and the teens, which is good. It's given us an opportunity to kind of stabilize our operations, and then look at where we need things. We are seeing significant increases in this year. Allegiant is up as much as 30% in March. December, as you saw, was our busiest ever by a significant margin, and I think with the 737s coming online you're going to see that continue because they have to put those planes in operation and put them into service flying somewhere, and obviously Florida is their biggest market in the U.S. I think next year you'll see that number probably, if not a double-digit percentage increase, in the high 8s or 9s for the year.
What's the difference in the seating capacity with the Airbuses versus the 737?
195 in the in the 737s, and yeah, to 180. So depending on the
model, yeah.
Yeah, the model Airbus, they have two different Airbus A320s. One has 188, I think the other one has 178. So
They reconfigured a lot of them to have the Allegiant Extra space as well, so they have.
first class.
6 rows have additional space in them, so they dropped the seat count in the A320s. But the other thing with the 737s, they have a much better range on them, more economical to fly longer.
They already have fleets in operation in other parts of the country.
They have taken,
737.
they have taken, so these are brand new 737s. They were supposed to have 10 in service in 2024, but with the strike of Boeing, they did not get those in place. They have 2, I think they're getting 4 in January this month. We're working with them to actually park them here. They're going to pay us to park their airplanes because they don't have pilots trained for the 737s yet because of their pilot contract. So I'm optimistic that all of that will be taken care of this year, but I'm not a union negotiator.
What comes to mind and being optimistic about the public perception of that model and Boeing in itself. I hope it doesn't affect.
So this is not, this is not the problematic version of the Boeing 737, and I think a lot of that is perception and not reality, but yeah. So non-aviation revenues, terminal advertising was up, auto parking obviously, and car rentals are up as our passengers increase. Food and beverage, with the addition of the bar in the back and the Dunkin' Donuts is up a little, and I think that will, as we build out the new terminal and have more opportunities for food and beverage, those numbers will just continue to climb through the years. Unleaded fuel sales up significantly. That's because of our new contract with the rental cars, and they started taking fuel a little bit more from us. We have that self-serve tank down in their QTA area. Ground transportation is an amazing number to me. That's Uber, Lyft, Turo, taxis. And then the others, obviously they're smaller numbers, but the TSA and Congress did not fund the LEO grant this year, so we were down 36%, and then badging fees are down. That's just the number of people we badge, so it's obviously not a big number in terminal use fees. I couldn't.
On ground transportation, how do you monitor or control that? I mean, how do you know you're getting what you're supposed to? Because if I was a Lyft or Uber driver, I'd tell you go pound salt.
Uber and Lyft give us a report monthly of the number of cars that take rides. It's all computer, they go into a geo-fenced area, which is the parking lot next to us. Mm-hmm. They have to be in that area to get a ride, and then once they leave that area,
they click somewhere.
Uber says, okay, they got a ride from the geo-fenced area. The taxis actually pay as soon as they don't pay as soon, but they get their license plates are red when they pull into the queue, and then we charge them from there. Turo, like the car rental companies, pay us a percentage of their gross, so we have to trust that they're legit. Honest, but if you look at the numbers, and we do have the authority to audit them. So what's interesting here with the car rental concession, obviously our biggest income source right now is car rentals at $6.4 million. Enterprise Alamo used to be about 75%. Avis Budget is really picking up, and Hertz is still there. I think we get a lot of Hertz at the FBO. People tend to fly in there. Get Hertz cars, but all of them are over at the FBO as well as in the terminal. So.
Do you think the percentage of market is based on their rates that are out there?
Well,
I mean, it's quite a bit of difference.
Enterprise Alamo is the preferred carrier for Allegiant, so when you buy a ticket, they pop up.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Clever.
Ground transportation, the thing that just kills me is Turo. 2 years ago, we didn't have Turo income. We negotiated a contract. We were the second airport in the state to negotiate a contract with Turo. Tampa was the first. And it just continues to grow. It's, yeah, I think, I don't understand the model, but that's fine.
Yeah, I don't understand anybody renting their personal car
Yeah, right.
out either, but that's what it is.
But we also charge shuttle buses, so Sunseeker, any of the other, I think there's a group of downtown hotels that have a shuttle bus, $5 per trip, and then larger 25-seat buses, $20 per trip. And we have a license plate reader. They have to be registered for us when they drive on the airport. The license plate reader picks it up, and we send them an invoice. Auto parking, our number 2 revenue source, is almost $5 million. I think next year you'll see that well over $5 million. In December, it was $730,000 in 1 month. That's a lot of that's because of the reconfiguration of our long-term red lot, where even if you're parked on the grass, you're still going through revenue control. We had 2,800 plus cars parked on the grass at Christmas. And, we got very, very few complaints this year about grass parking. I think people are just happy to have parking. RSW, Pi, Sarasota, we're all telling people to find other places to park, find other methods to get to the airport because they ran out. We will do whatever it takes to make sure if you come to the airport, you have a place to park. And our staff does an amazing job handling it, whether that's, bringing in lighting, running the buses, running the golf carts. Almost 20 hours a day we're running shuttles during the busy time. So.
I think what's interesting, the way we run our auto parking here is basically in-house. Most airports, they contract out that service, like with standard parking and all that. And
Republic parking.
And Republic parking. And so we're able to retain all of the parking lot revenues as opposed to paying the contractor to man the booths and all that type of thing.
Don't some airlines share revenue in that?
And the revenue shares depending on the model with the parking. I will say, we look at this as, at our janitorial staff. Most airports don't have their own janitorial staff. I just think we get a little better control. We also get great people that want to work at the airport for us. And we don't have mystery employees like other airports had for a while, where they were just getting charged for people that weren't there. We really have more control over it. So passenger-related revenue, this is all the revenue we receive, whether it's from parking, rental cars, grants. The average total revenue for the year was about $25 per passenger. Our expenses, which include all of our direct expenses for the airline, the terminal, and also indirect expenses for management, maintenance, and airfield maintenance, runs us about $8.50. So our net revenue per passenger is about $16. Now, some of that is in in PFCs, which are specific to funding projects as well as entitlements. So $9 of that is going to airfield maintenance and airfield projects that are funded by the FAA. And then our CFCs, which are collected from our rental car companies, those are, it's our money, but we tend to put that in a pot to spend on rental car enhancements. So total passenger-related revenue, as you'll see from our last year, we had 932,977. I said we would hit $1 million. We will next year. 1 million enplanements, 2 million passengers, $25 million in passenger revenue.
On the employment numbers, what do you do with non-revs? I remember, do they count?
They don't
them?
count.
I didn't think they count.
So,
If
yeah.
you count the non-revs, you'd be over 2
Probably,
million.
probably.
And that, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
That plays into some of the criticism we've had in the past that we're not charging enough fees or the fees that we could be charging. Whereas I understand when we first quoted, for example, Allegiant, that we needed to compete with the other airports and make it attractive. We're in the process of renegotiating Allegiant's agreement now, right?
So next year,
Is there anything going to change?
I think we'll see some changes just to cover new regulation that wasn't in place back then. But we will still be a low-cost airport. I mean, we are because of our financial model. I mean, we're very successful collecting income, but we're also very conservative in our expenses. And that's from running our own janitorial and running our own parking to having our own fleet maintenance in-house. We do a lot of things that other airports just farm out. Right. And when you farm it out, you pay for it. As we grow, it gets more difficult. I mean, if you think about it, when I started 19 years ago, we had 24 employees. Now we're 124 employees. We have had to grow our fleet. We've been buying cars. When I got here, we had 3 cars. 2 were over 20 years old. 1 had rolled over during a hurricane, and we were still driving it. When we had
What's the brand? I'm gonna buy one.
Oh, we've got all different brands. But okay. when we were all lined up, our cars for the procession, for the funeral, for the sheriff's deputy who was killed, I was shocked at how many cars we lined up with our logo on it. Oh. So I put a moratorium on buying cars, but mainly because we only have one fleet guy. Well, one guy changing oil on, not only 9 fuel trucks, 5 maintenance vans. It just, the line went on and on. So, things have grown, and with that, our expenses are going up, and obviously, the airline will and understands they share in those expenses. But I think our model works. We had a financial study that proved our model works, and I want to stay very close to it. But yes, Allegiant, Sun Country, all understand our model, and they understand that all of our costs have gone up. I was just on a conference call yesterday with Sun Country, Allegiant, Delta. I'm speaking on a panel in AAAE's CFO conference next week, or 2 weeks from now, and they're all talking about costs going up. And Charles from Sun Country said, well, no matter how costs go up, Punta Gorda is still the cheapest airport we fly into. And the guy from Delta, who I said, remember that. He was interested in, I said, we're below $1 in enplanement. And I think he was shocked because the majority of the airports around us are well over 5. If not, you go to Miami, Fort Lauderdale, they're in the teens. So.
And that's why I think it's really important that we as commissioners, especially in our districts and the area, people that our involvement in the community, that's the message that we
Yes.
put out there, that when
Yeah.
you take the model as a whole, it's hard to argue that there's any reason to change it at this point, so, thank you.
So one of the things that we follow very closely, and if you look at the last 5 years, I'd gotten concerned a little bit at the revenues plateauing and the expenses still going up. But over the last 2 years, seen that trend, although revenues or expenses still are increasing, our revenues have started to increase as well at a higher rate than they had been. Our operating margin for the year ended up at 15.8%. If we were running a regular business at 15.8%, I think the executive staff would be driving really nice cars. We're running a nonprofit, so we drive trucks.
Trucks aren't cheap either.
Trucks are not cheap either, unfortunately. But no, it's been a really good 2024, and we see no reason that 2025 shouldn't be just as good. Now, pandemics, storms, all of those things could affect this, but I think we're doing well. So airline contributions, one thing that we've talked about, we do charge the airlines. The turn fee is our biggest charge, and that increases per their contract annually. That was about $500,000. Hangar rents, fuel for their GSE equipment. The fuel trucks, Allegiant used to pay for our fuel trucks. With our new fuel contract, they're no longer going to be doing that, so that'll go away. But our fuel trucks are free from our contract. And a lot of that's because of the $1 million a month or 1 million gallons a month that we're pumping. And then fuel farm contributions, that's the money that they paid to build our fuel farm that we were paying them back through the 3 cents. That ended this month, so that 3 cents is now coming back to us. Completed projects, as most of you guys are aware, the row hangers, with the T hangers, the row hanger, the 50 by 50s, Taxiway Gulf, which was an amazing, something that's been on our list of things to do since I got here 19 years ago, is to connect all the runways and taxiways with taxiways. Self-serve fueling on the north ramp, much larger than I thought we would ever need, but we go through a lot of fuel in that, so glad nobody listened to me. But we've, with the self-serve fueling this year, we've added not only new fueling facilities, but new signage. We have digital signs that when you're pumping the fuel, you can see how much fuel you've put in and the cost. We always had it on the pump, but it was, like it is on a gas pump, and you're 30 feet away in your airplane. So now people can see. With weight and balance, pilots want to know, they want to put 10 gallons in, and now they can see it. We added that to both of our self-serves. We moved the south self-serve to the air center. And then finally, after 2 years, got the airfield lighting control system project done, which is a new digital airfield lighting control. After Hurricane Charlie, we had to get rid of the switches that worked the other one. We went to a digital switch system, which was touch screen, and apparently that's no longer being manufactured, so now we have a new one. So grant funding, total FAA grants, 25 million, total DOT grants, 10 million, DEO grants, 2.75 million last year. Maintenance and operations, golf course challenger improvements, that's project's on hold, but we're kind of banking some money. We'll talk to you guys next month about some options on that project. Taxiway A and C reconstruction and the CD intersection. we're receiving some DOT money on that, as well as inline baggage and the north side infrastructure and GA ramp project. FAA is funding the new ARF truck, obviously C&D intersection and taxiway C reconstruction, major funding, if you'll look at that, you know, $15 million, and then we got an additional 10 on the commercial terminal. So we have 10, we got an additional 10. And then the DEO grant for the CTC facility was $2.75 million, and that is added to the $2 million that we already had? Huh? 3. So that lowered their cost and helped fund that facility.
I think it's, again, important to note, you know, we pretty much operate without any general tax support from our community, and all these federal grants are basically funded through user fees. It's not coming out of the income tax that people pay.
So the majority of that, yes. So over the last 5 years, or actually over the last 3, and then we have 2 more, there's been the bipartisan infrastructure bill. That is not funded out of that, but you know, obviously, if we don't take that money,
it's going to go somewhere.
It's going to go somewhere else, and I would rather take the money for our airport, our community, our contractors, and get it here. So, you're correct, though. All of the PFC money and the entitlement money that we get from the FAA is funded from ticket taxes. And we are a donor airport. Florida is a donor state. We give more money to the ticket taxes than we get back.
Why is that?
Because we're the biggest state in the nation when it comes to airports. We have more. So it's just, you know, obviously smaller states don't produce as much income. And so Florida, California, Texas, New York, we all end up giving money into the system more than we get out of it. Projects that are currently under construction, carried over from the year before, the M&O facility, which we'll be moving into in April. Soon. Inline baggage, which will be dried in. All those Connex boxes you see in that field are the baggage handling system, are parts of it. We're working with TSA. They're going to be getting their equipment installed as soon as we get it dried in, air conditioned, the flooring done, and the electrical in, which will take the next 6 months. So, Building 101 replacement is being erected as we speak. The steel is up, the roof is going on, maintenance building. That's the GSE facility that used to be in the parking lot of the rental car QTA. It's being permitted. Fuel Farm Security Road, a great new access to the fuel farm. No longer requires our fuel trucks to drive on public roads, even though they're ours. They were still intermingling with public traffic. Now they're staying inside the airport. So 2 things there. They no longer have to go through a security checkpoint to get onto the air carrier ramp because they're never leaving the secure area. So it's been a major help for us and just traffic around the airport. North side infrastructure is the road and everything that CTC will benefit from, as well as the MRO and taxiways, ANC, and the ARF truck.
You went back, there was the restaurant on there in the corner?
Sure, the restaurant.
Kaylee mentioned it, I may have missed it. Do we have any prospects?
We had 10 companies show up at a walkthrough multiple times. We will hopefully, the bids are due on the 29th of this month, so next month we'll let you know. You know,
we need someplace when they land and get fuel.
To get fuel and eat, I know. If not, Ray and I are going to just cook hamburgers.
Put a Subway in there.
Yeah. Chicken wings and hamburgers. Yes, we need a restaurant. It is. This project seems to be just stuck in disasters. We had people extremely interested in it, and then Ian hit. and all the restaurants had just too much work getting themselves back in operation. Then we had a lot of interest in Milton and Helene hit on this time, and all the restaurants downtown who were excited about it are now putting their restaurants back together. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. That's all I can be, is hopeful. The commercial terminal expansion is going on. We'll be bringing that, hopefully, the GMP to you guys next month. Be ready to get your checkbooks out next month. It'll be with the commercial terminal and the Air Center FBO. 2 big contracts. Golf Course Boulevard and Challenger. Well, like I said, I'm going to talk to you about some options on that. Perimeter Road. We have multiple phases of the Perimeter Road going north and south that will connect it'll basically connect the interior of the airport, so we're not transitioning from the Air Center to the air carrier ramp by taxiway and runway. We'll be able to do it around that and also improve our security inspections that we have to do multiple times a day. Right now, if you're not in a 4-wheel drive, you're not getting around our airport. And then the master drainage plan update is going forward. Like Brett said, we're meeting with Swift Mud next week.
Good luck.
It's always exciting. So what everybody likes to see, cash on hand, 46.7 million, basically, at the end of the fiscal year 2024. Internal reserves are about 10 million. That's what we put aside in our parking lot reserves, our catastrophic, non-catastrophic expenses, just everything that we have money if we have to go spend something. Our T-hanger repairs. We'll be eating up a lot of this money. T-hangers, we're putting new doors on, starting with 605 this year, and then 604 on the north side. Those doors have some rust issues, basically due to the fact they're on the north side of the building and they don't dry out. So we'll be replacing those. And then our building reserve, that's there to rebuild buildings. If those of you who have been on the board for a long time will recall that our auditor said you need to put money away for roofs. So we did. We started putting away $50,000 a year, then $100,000, then $500,000 a year. We built that up to $4 million. We had a lot of roofs and air conditioners that we planned on replacing, and then we get hit by Hurricane Ian, and we got them all replaced with insurance money. So that fund continues to go up. We do use it. That, we put air conditioners on buildings every 10 years because that's all they last now. And then we have a plan in place to replace roofing, siding, windows as necessary.
The unrestricted cash, I assume that's invested somewhere?
All of that is it's not in the safe in my office. It's in the bank, earning 4% right now, and then in the FL, 4.5%.
Mostly probably in bonds, or where they put it.
Or remember, you guys approved the FL Trust?
Trust.
So some of it is there.
If Florida goes bankrupt, we're in trouble.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's not invested in with the state of Florida. It's in a
managed account.
separate account that is invested, and so we're earning interest off of those investments based on our cash being in there. And as of today, it was earning 4.5%. It compounds daily in that account. Most of our money right now is invested in our revenue account, or is in our revenue account, collecting about 4% interest. But we do have some plans to go out for solicitation for an investment company or an advisor company to assist us in future investments.
And the cash is readily available.
Yes.
It's all available, 100%.
It's all liquid. So, and so when we talk about internal reserves, none of this is restricted like you would if we had a bond issuance and they required us to have restricted reserves. This is all internal. You know, we put this money away. It's still in our accounts. Also, you know, the 36 million plus the PFCs, all of that is sitting in revenue earning accounts. The operating cash may be in a checking account that's receiving less interest. That's just to write the checks we write every 2 weeks. So passenger amenities this year, some of the things we're really proud of, our language line is something that Casey's been working on to allow our staff to interact with people who are limited English, and we don't have French and Italian and Spanish speakers here, but this allows us through a company to have an iPad that interpret for us. Something that's, you know, it's not a requirement, but it's something that we have looked at for a while, and we now have that in place. The Duncan Express in baggage claim, which will also be duplicated in the hold rooms in the new expansion. Our new buses that we put in service last year, our veteran-themed airport shuttle buses. This is a very large veteran community. Not only our staff is a very large veteran community, but this community in itself is a very large veteran community, and we do as much as we can to serve them. And then we're working with FGCU on some videos on our website for disabled travelers, just sort of information for them. And then Curtis. Curtis is always out in the terminal making people happy, as well as our dogs, our Paw Patrol. What are they called? Sorry? That's a
Canine Comfort Crew.
Canine Comfort Crew.
He was a big hit at the Christmas parade.
They are always big hits. So events and milestones, obviously the groundbreaking. We were able to stage a lot of the city's equipment, since most of the city is below flood. They brought a lot of their fire trucks, their trash trucks, and we were able to house them on the airport to keep them from getting damaged. We did launch a new public flight tracking portal to help with our noise issues, and then you can see in the upper right corner our float and Curtis and our great captain who drove the float and our board. I will tell you that float wants to leave the ground at over 40 miles an hour, even with its stubby wings.
It was built quite well.
I just want to recognize Commissioner Hansik for donating the Piper Cub, which was definitely enhanced our Christmas parade experience.
Better than a flatboat.
It is a much nicer presentation than we had, and like Kaylee said, we will be putting some more graphics on it. We're going to put a dedicated trailer together for it, so we don't have to take that apart every time, because that trailer also moves all of our equipment around the airport, and we'll be storing that in a hangar so that it will be around for many parades to come.
That probably makes Joe happy because he doesn't have to use the equipment.
Our lull to pick it up and put it down.
Yeah.
And it's perfect, especially when it rains during the parade.
You guys can all get inside.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome.
Now, I don't know who decided to truncate the wings at about 10 feet when we're only allowed to have an 8.5-foot thing on the road.
Well, there's a way around that. It's called you get a permit if you need it.
But you can't go over 40 miles an hour or it wants to leave the float. Our marketing staff, all of our marketing staff, Ms. Miller, continue to put out the buzz, very popular. We have about 50,000 people that get it, as well as the interim buzzes that we put out to our tenants. But we've been highlighting our new routes, DC, Savannah, some doing really well, some not doing as well, but also targeted. And I don't understand any of this. As she doesn't understand engineering, I don't understand geographics, whatever that means. But working with the airline, our airline partners, they've been very happy with our award-winning marketing staff. Employee highlights, as I said, 128 total, 68 full-time, 55 part-time, 5 seasonal, up from 24. And then our esteemed 3 new board members that got sworn in. And, you know, we do a lot with the employees, a lot of employee engagement. I'm wearing shorts in that picture just because I was cooking hamburgers. But, you know, Gary Duncan left us last year. He was recognized by the Florida Department of Transportation for his 33 years of service, mostly in Florida. We're really fortunate to get great staff to work for us. And you talk to Gary, who worked at 5 airports in his career. Although we paid him less than most of them, he really enjoyed working here, and I think that's because you don't get pigeonholed into one thing. At a small hub airport, you get to do everything. So that is my report, probably longer than anyone wanted to hear me talk. And I will give it back to Kelly to run the rest of the thing.
Okay. One interesting thing about the State of the Airport report, you know, that's for board members. If you have an opportunity to speak to a group or something, that thing is a great basic document to use in giving speeches and community involvement. It's well done. So I guess we're moving on to old business. Any old business?
We have no old business.
Okay. New business.
So we had our special meeting or emergency meeting, or no, it was a special
Workshop.
meeting. Workshop, where we ranked the top 7 firms from our consulting group. I would like the board to approve the top 5 and let us work on continuing consulting agreements with the top 5 and bring them back next month for a 3-year term.
Before I ask for a motion, you might explain how these contracts work in relationship where we normally go out for professional services proposals.
So we use a lot of engineers for a lot of different things on projects that are under a certain amount, and I would tell you that amount, but it changes constantly. We can select from pre-selected consultants. So, you know, we try and use a certain consultant like Kimley Horn for flat work on the airport. They've done all the pavement and taxiway work for the last 6 years. EG Solutions has done all of the water quality and quantity work since 1994 when I first started working here. CMT has come on board recently to do some design build work for us, and they've just provided a lot of new things, and AECom and Michael Baker have been our consultants for a while, doing the terminal, doing the air center, doing the M&O facility. So this is just a group that we can choose from. We usually have 3. We have been so busy, and I think we'll continue to be busy over the next 3 years. I'd like to have a little bit more depth that I can choose from. And on larger projects like the terminal, like things, we still go out for proposals for individuals. So it's basically, you know, it's just an on-call contract. Any contracts that we sign with these people will still be brought to the board for approval. So all we do is we talk to them and select one for a project and then bring that.
Mr. Chair, I want to make sure, Mr. Parrish, that your suggestion is for a 3-year agreement, with 2 optional 1-year extensions. Is that what we've previously had with these contractors?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, not hearing any other questions. Chair will call for the question, for a recommendation. We need a motion.
Mr. Chair, I will move that the board approve line item 14, subsection A, under continuing service agreement consulting selection as met by the board in December of 2024, that we approve Mr. Parrish to have 5 contractors under his purview, specifically naming, in no particular order, Kimley Horn, EG Solutions, CMT, AECOM, ACOM, and Michael Baker as contractors that our CEO can utilize.
Need a second?
A second.
Okay.
I'll second. Does it matter if the motion, I mean, it is based on ranking, but as far as
No.
selecting firms, it doesn't matter.
Having a motion and a second to itemize 5 firms for continuing services agreement. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously.
The next item is Resolution 2025-01. It is requested by the board at the last meeting that we just update our non-pursuit of privatization of the airport. I know that tends to raise its ugly head every once in a while, and Mr. Thornberry asked if I would put another resolution on, and it is presented to you.
Chair will call for a motion. Mr. Thornberry.
I'll move to approve the resolution as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the next item is, there'll be a few of us headed up to Tallahassee next week. We don't have any specific priorities for the airport or any asks this year. Like I said, we've been very successful over the last few years, but I wanted to present to you, and I left a copy of the 6 priorities of the Florida Airports Council. Just want to make sure there's nothing on here that I shouldn't be pushing. Every once in a while, an airport is against one of the airport council's things, and they just try not to speak on that. But so I can go aviation funding. Basically, we support funding of the DOT. The DOT collects taxes through aviation fuel sales, and then that money goes into a trust fund. It's added from other fuel sales, and the FDOT funds aviation projects. You saw their funding to us. Significant funding in the state of Florida. We fund more than 48 states combined.
Wow.
California is the only other one that puts out this kind of money towards aviation. 2 things you'll notice: California and Florida are very tourist dependent on their economies. Zoning, Live Local 2 years ago allowed development in commercial zoned areas. If you had a portion of that in lower income housing, while I am 100% for it, we fought hard to have residential removed from the airport area. And that would have allowed residential in the parks around us and undeveloped land around us. So we fought last year, and Senator Pasadomo, who this was her original bill, put some language in it to protect airports, which is very similar to the language we already had in state law protecting airports. There is some grumblings that there are some developers that are angry about that. Well, there's not grumblings, there's actual yelling and screaming. So we will be supporting maintaining those amendments that we got in last year.
Is that, I mean, in theory, they could use the tower as a height comparison.
So there are multiple things. The height, I think, and is it 50 feet, 5 feet? I don't remember, but you couldn't limit the height. So it basically took local zoning away from local entities. And so our tower, the center downtown, the Justice Center downtown, they could use the spire as the highest thing and build above that. There's a lot of things that like I said, I agree with the rule. It's just the way it was put out there caused some angst with airports. And we got language in that protects us, so we're good with that. Chad, you want to talk about the third one?
Yeah, so last session, there was a bill that was passed for special districts, and it was really all-encompassing of all special districts. It exempted a few, but there's certain things that we have to comply with because of that legislation. This piece of legislation, or this priority, seeks to amend that legislation to not require us to go to the legislature if we were going to sell part of our property or something like that. So if a special district wants to release some of their property, and we do that through easement sometimes, that's a release of property, we would have to go to the legislature and have them, by general law, approve that. And it's something that we don't have to do now. We go to the FAA, we tell them what we're doing, and then they say, yes, that's an approved use, you can go ahead and sell that, it's fair market value, all that stuff. Based on how the law was written, we would have to go through this other step, which would be very difficult to do.
And mind you, for us to sell land, it literally is an act of Congress. This would take an act of the legislature and an act of Congress.
Wow.
The problem is, I think the way this was written is, it could also include easements. And we give FP&L an easement every time we build a building. And to have to wait, we already have to wait almost a year to get FP&L. To have to wait another year to get the legislature to approve an easement is just so. That's the gist of that one. A lot of the advanced air mobility, we really support the federal government putting in advanced air mobility standards, but we support the state of Florida supporting them. PFAS.
On the advanced air mobility, I think you and I have had the conversation at some point in time, are we going to make a provision to plug these guys in? What we're talking about are these new modes of transportation, which are like air taxis and this kind of stuff, and they're all electric type vehicles. Some people think there's not enough of a power grid to support them.
Oh, there's absolutely not enough power grid to support them. There's not enough power on Challenger Road to support them. And secondly, we really don't know what they're going to require. So I would hope that the federal government would put together some standards for electrification. That, it's kind of like Ford now Tesla allowing Ford to charge at their charging stations. At least they're all similar enough that I can plug my Lightning into a Tesla charger. Right now, there's no standard for the eVTOLs, and it is really making airports hesitant to do any infrastructure improvements because we just don't know what they're going to be.
So there hasn't been an AC out, so you got to build a pad this big and then a place to plug in, and then how do you transfer from?
Because we don't even know if it's going to be three-phase DC, what the voltage is going to be. Probably beyond, well, I wouldn't say lifetime, but
beyond our.
Yeah. But no, we're very involved in it, and I think we're I'm on a couple of committees as well as I work with FP&L a lot. We're going to have to do something. But right now, you know, it's hard enough to get charging stations in our parking lots. If an eVTOL company came to us and had a plan, the ones we've talked to, and unfortunately, they don't want to pay to recharge. You know, it's like you not wanting to pay to gas up your car. Well, I came to your airport, you should have a place for me to charge. So, you know, there's a perception that electricity is free if you drive an electric car or if you fly an electric airplane, and it's not. And so that's the type of stuff that we're going to have to really look at in the future. PFAS, we've all talked about firefighting foam enough that it just is mind-numbing, but we support the transition to the new foam and any efforts to get new foams in place. And then TNCs, the transportation network companies, Uber, Lyft, and others are always trying to regulate the amount we can charge them. You know, every airport's different. Most of this came from one airport doubling their fees, and it sounds terrible, but they went from $1.50 to $3. The majority of the airports out there are at $3. I think MCO is at $4.50 or $5. You know, there is a cost to having them on the airport. We just built a parking lot for them to park in. We're probably going to have to move that soon to another location and build another facility for them. Taxi cabs, we have to have taxi lanes. Some airports have to have a taxi caller. So there are fees, there are expenses, and these fees basically just cover that. The TNCs would like to do it for nothing, or at least limit the amount we can charge them. I think last year they pushed a bill to go to $2. We just don't like the idea of the legislature getting involved in the finances of an airport. And so whether that's TNCs now, or you know, you could see 5 years down the road, 2 years down the road, the rental car company saying, well, why don't we get something in legislation? So we oppose any law that would change that. So that is what the Florida Airports Council, Chad is their president, Ray is you're the federal affairs chair, but he is also federal and state, has gone together this year. So he'll be up in Tallahassee next week, as well as myself. We'll be
Next week.
next week.
Okay. I have one item of new business just to make the board members aware of. Mr. Parrish's employment contract is up in July. So I've had some conversations with Mr. Parrish, and we'll be working on, unless I hear different, a new contract probably for a 5-year period that will come at some point in the future.
Sounds good.
Well, I guess.
I hope we don't hear different.
Yeah. And at this point, I don't see any, well, anyway. Okay. Public comments. Anyone wish to address the board on any subject? Not seeing a rush to the podium. We'll move on to commissioner comments.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I'm going to call her out. We have our new HR generalist here. If you can at least stand up and say your name.
Hi, I'm Megan Zawacki.
Welcome to PGD. We're looking forward to working with you. I also want to congratulate, I saw Brian and Cindy and Carl leave early, but Joe, thank you for your service. If you can tell your employees that it's greatly appreciated for their dedication and loyalty, it means a lot to us. So thank you. Outside of that, I have nothing else to add.
Welcome to PGD, and thank you guys for your service too.
Kathleen, anything?
Just apologize for being late.
Okay.
I guess I need another car. But terrific meeting. Thank you for the jacket, and we're doing great, I think. We're really doing great. Appreciate everybody's help, and you for supporting our airport in the audience.
Mr. Thornberry?
I couldn't agree more. Great report. Everything is positive, and it's our job, I feel, or one of our main roles is to get that information factually out to the community and communicate the greatness of our airport. And again, can't say enough about staff, and thank you all.
Okay, I echo everybody else's comments. I would like Chad to inform the board members and those that are here and watching us about the meeting that we're hosting, which is kind of a neat deal for us, and the details on it.
29th? January 29th through February 1st at Sunseeker, we'll be hosting the AAAE, that's the American Association of Airport Executives Finance and Administration Conference. Chairman Hansick will be having some opening remarks for the conference for us, so thank you for doing that. It's got a good agenda, covers a myriad of different topics that deal with finance and administration issues. Mr. Parrish will be speaking, as he mentioned, at that conference as well on a panel talking about different types of airport models. So ours will be a unique model compared to the others that will be on the panel and offer different insights. So I'm excited. There's about 200 people registered. So that means about 200 people coming to see our beautiful area here in Punta Gorda and Port Charlotte. So it's very exciting.
And what was, I'm sorry, the date on that?
January 29th through February 1st.
Is that open to commissioners?
Yes, if you'd like to come, let me know and I can get you
It's at
registration.
Sunseeker.
Yeah, and Curtis is going to make an appearance as well. Yes.
Thanks, Ray.
Is Mr. Parrish going to wear that during his panel? Or? Okay. Anything else? Meeting's adjourned.